Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the world of multi-site data centers. We're going to look at how Cisco's Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator, or NDO, takes the headache out of deploying tenant policies consistently across all your different sites. So, let's get into it.
So here's the plan. First, we'll talk about the big problem that NDO is built to solve. Then, we'll dig into the key building blocks, tenants, and schemas. From there, we'll walk through the actual workflow, how you import and deploy policies. And finally, we'll see what it all looks like at the end, a single, unified policy connecting all your sites.
Okay, so let's set the stage a little. As businesses grow, they end up with multiple data centers, multiple sites. And that's fantastic for keeping things running and for performance, but man, it creates a huge challenge for the people who have to manage it all.
And that really brings us to the million-dollar question, right? How in the world do you make sure that the security rules and the network policies you set up in one data center are exactly the same in another? Trying to do that by hand, it's not just slow, it's a recipe for disaster. It's how you get security holes in applications that just, stop working. And this is the exact problem NDO is born to solve. So our journey to a sane, centralized policy starts with a really basic concept in the ACI and NDO universe, the tenant. You can just think of a tenant as the main folder, the top-level container that holds all of your policies for a specific group.
And here's the crucial part. You can't build anything without a foundation. In NDO, the tenant is that foundation. Before you can even dream of defining an application profile or a security rule inside a schema, you have to have a tenant. And that tenant has to be linked to the sites you want to manage. It's step 0. You just can't skip it.
Now, NDO gives you 2 ways to get this done. First, you can just create a brand new tenant right inside the NDO interface. This is perfect if you're starting from scratch. Or, and this is my favorite, if you already have a tenant all set up and running on one of your existing sites, you can just import the whole thing. That second option is a massive time saver, letting you build on the work you've already done.
And this is exactly what that Create New option looks like inside the NDO interface. It's pretty straightforward, right? You give your tenant a name, in this case it's support, and then, here's the key, you check the boxes for the sites you want to connect it to. You can see here, we're associating this tenant with both site and HQ. Simple as that.
All right, so our tenant foundation is poured and set. Now we can get to the real engine of policy creation in NDO, the schema. This is where we're going to build the master plan for our entire network.
So what is a schema really? Honestly, the best way to think of it is like a blueprint. It's a master template. It's the one place you go to define all the networking policies and objects that your application needs. And the magic is, you build it one time in the schema, and NDO uses that blueprint to stamp out perfect, identical copies of that configuration across all of your sites.
And the amount of stuff you can control from one schema is, it's huge. Just look at this list. We're talking about all the core components you need, from Layer 2 bridge domains and Layer 3 VRFs, all the way up to the application stuff, like your EPGs and the security contracts between them. It's basically your entire toolkit for defining an application's policy, all in one spot. Okay, so we've got our tenant, we know what a schema is for. Now let's get practical. Let's look at the actual workflow and see how this blueprint gets turned into a real, working configuration. We're going to focus on that really powerful import feature. So, you've got this great configuration running on one of your sites, and you want NDO to manage it. Getting it into the system is actually super easy. You just go to the right schema and template, hit the import button, and then you just point NDO at the site you want to import from. After that, you pick and choose the exact pieces, like an EPG or a VRF, that you want to pull into your central template.
And here you go. This is what it looks like on the screen. See? We've chosen to import from our HQ site. On the left, we can pick the type of object we want, like an EPG. And in the main window, there it is, our front_EPG. All we do is check that box and hit import. What we're really doing is telling NDO, hey, see this EPG? It's yours now. I want to manage it from this central schema from now on.
So let's zoom out for a second and look at the whole game plan. It really boils down to these 4 steps. First, you import your building blocks, your EPGs, your VRFs, from your sites into that one central template. Second, you make sure that template is pointed at all the sites that need it. Third, and this is the really critical part, you create the security rules, the contract, inside the template. And finally, you hit deploy. And NDO takes care of pushing that unified policy everywhere it needs to go. So after all that clicking and configuring, what did we actually accomplish? What's the payoff? Let's take a look at the end result and see what this model really gives us.
This diagram just says it all. We've got an endpoint, EP1, over in Site 1, and we've got another endpoint, EP2, all the way over in Site 2. They're in different EPGs, but because we're managing both of those EPGs from our single NDO schema, we can create one contract, C, that lives between them. NDO then does all the heavy lifting in the background to let EP1 and EP2 talk to each other securely, as if they were plugged into the same switch in the same room.
And that right there is the big takeaway. Who cares that EP1 and EP2 are physically miles apart? From a policy point of view, they're neighbors. We have one single point of control in our NDO schema that defines how they're allowed to talk, and that policy is enforced exactly the same way everywhere. I mean, this is a total game changer for simplifying your operations and your security.
This quote from the source material just boils it all down, doesn't it? You pull the EPGs into the schema, you create the contract there, and that's it. That's what controls the traffic. It's such a simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful when you're managing these complex, distributed networks.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. Just think about it. When you can define, deploy, and check on the security policies for all of your data centers from one single screen, how does that change your day-to-day? How much faster can you deploy new apps? How much human error can you eliminate? How much stronger is your security? That's the real power of orchestrating your policy with NDO. Thanks for watching.